So it helps, so they stop doing certain things because they had gone through this. They had gone through that question. They know what that question is all about. What causes the negativity is known to the people, so they stop doing that. That's a whole advantage of this particular technique. So, project analytics. Every project management group, every organization has its own dashboard, its own archival mechanism where at the end of the project you archive. And the PMBOK tells us that we should go and do a lessons learned also and then load it into the database, right? So tomorrow a new project manager starts, he or she looks into that particular the database, figure out what should be done and what should not be done. Now that is so far only manual. Today with the analytics flavor, you know, you bring in the business intelligence, you understand what kind of situation happened to be in the current state, why the project is in the current state, what should be done differently. Answers many times may not come to you and your team. Add that predictive flavor. The predictive analytics flavor helps you to look at your future state of your project when it comes to your cost and budget. Your cost and budget is the primary source of concern for your senior management. They ask you, are you going to be on schedule is fine, within budget, right? That's very critical. So how can you leverage the advantage of technology like analytics to bring in the flavor of, so dig out all your project database, all the past projects, figure out what is the trend that has happened, what made certain projects to go into red or fail or even shut down abruptly, and what made certain projects to even succeed. That is only theory. Taking it to the current state and figuring out how my particular project currently is in this stage, now to take it into the success, or will I be successful or not, that is the predictive layer. So with advantage of your technology, you are able to get your dashboards, your KPIs, your key process indicators, which tells the state of your project in the future, because current is already there. Your past has taken you currently, but your current has to take you to the future. So make use of this predictive analytics dashboard, and of course forecast and budgets are very, very, very derivative, which can be controlled with the help of technology and analytics. So orchestrating immersion. So you see the diagram at the bottom. For those of you here, I'm sorry, I will stand this side. So you see the diagram here. So as I said, this came from the education sector. So when you think of a project manager also is a mentor and guide to the member, right? And many times when you start a project which is every project is uncertain, every project is new. So you use that to tell your project team members to absorb. What I advocate here is, this is something which I tried in the past. Instead of crunching your schedule, your project schedule back to back, allocate the immersion time, the idea generation time in your schedule. Slot 1 hour per month with your team. And at the beginning of the project, before you start the project, immerse them to the various scenarios that may likely to hit the project. Because as I say, those team members, many of your team members may be first time working with you. And in the current global era, those members could also sit elsewhere and work with you. But this immersion technique helps them to feel not just the scenario, but also the pains that comes associated with it. The real life scenario, the real world data, the real world outcome, they sense it. So what happens is, once that is done, your job is half done. You put them into the project, when they start going through the situation and the ones that you architected in the beginning, when people go through that, when they start experiencing that on a continual basis, the chances of a phase of your project getting into a red is restricted. Because this technique only will tell you there. So that's why, as I said, it's a outcome in the real world is picked up by the members. It's not the crystal gazing. It's not dreaming. It's not daydreaming. This is about how the members understand what are the nuances of the project. So simulate situations that's likely to happen. Ask them how they will feel like, what they will do at that stage. So what happens is you already taken them through the mental journey, and that's exactly what the orchestrated immersion is all about. When I look at decision making, we always take pride that every company looks at analytical aspect. Is that guy good in analytics, right? Because it's assumed a person with good analytics will play a better project manager role, or whatever role has been given to that individual. That's why analytics or analytical reasoning is viewed as one of the strengths to be tested before an employee joins the company. But in the project management world, it's very, very important that the project manager not just looks at data, because data is certainly real. Data is real, it's there in front of you. But if you just go by data, we can have machines replaces. We can have multiple set of groups who can do it for us. So here I'm talking about going beyond that analytic decisions. Look at your intuition, look at your gut. That's not quantifiable. You cannot quantify a gut and intuition. You need to experience it. Your past experience actually plays a role in the current project. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree or not, that's a true fact. But why hide and say, I will look at only data? So this is like the diagram as it says, it's two different things, your right side of the brain and the left side of the brain working in tandem. So when your left side of the brain, which is analytical in nature, tells you don't do, also give weightage to your right side, and vice versa. So some of the people are very good artistic brain, on the right side of the brain they use. For them, don't just go by the intuition and gut, they are likely to fail. Look at the data. As the previous slide I talked about, take your analytics into your view. Let that also play a role in your decision making. Right? So your efficiency and innovation can occur only when you mix both the sides of the things. Don't go with only one aspect. Look at the ambidextrous decision making at every stage of your project is what this particular technique advocates. Now, certain other factors to consider. As I told in the beginning, when I talked about the scope creep, we safely forget that the senior management, we assume senior management is going to support, but reality is some of the technique that I talked about needs senior management support. It's not going to work otherwise. It's very, very critical and important that senior management feels that they are part of your project. They are part of the project management community. So it's important you get them through at every stage as one of your stakeholder. When I talk of customers, there is a saying: customers do not know what the customers do not ask what they do not know. In other words, customers go incrementally and start approving your stages. That's why in the software industry, other than the conventional different waterfall methods and other things, there is also an agile method, because we want to give the customers a look and feel at different stages, at a snippet, so that the customers understand what you are trying to build, develop and deploy as part of the project. But the customers also play an important role by providing what many companies call Net Promoter Score. The Net Promoter Score will influence the future business, future projects that the project manager can handle or not. The customer, so it's important. So the very reason I'm putting up here is to say, go and get the customer as your coach. when customers are your coach for the project, you can actually discuss, go back to the first point I talked about, your scope creep. You actually can take that customer with you and say, I'm not talking about all the customer, I'm saying one individual who is named from the customer whom you are working very closely, right? And say, now I'm treating you as a coach. Now tell me, there is a new requirement which has come in. Am I supposed to work or not? What do you say? What is the business impact? Can you suggest how can I wade through your organization, the client organizational issues, and still deliver my project? Many a times the customers will not shy away. They will always be supportive and provide you that needed insight of why the project can be done and how, if there is additional scope creep coming your way. Again, remember the intelligent the disobedience I talked about. You can take the coach from the customer to actually help you there. And lastly, you may have the senior management on one side, your customers on the other side, all of them giving you adequate support and inputs. But what about you? You as well as your members, as well as your future members, for those of you who are having more project managers reporting to you. It's very important that some of these techniques, which has a basis, it's not blind, it's not a very straightforward techniques. It needs to go with the context in which I explained. Otherwise, it may look very negative, right? When I say anti-manager, you may start thinking, oh, this guy is saying managers should not be there, right? So you look at with the context and try to pick up. So which means that for coaching and mentoring to the project managers at different levels, at the program manager level, needs to happen. So I am sure by having some of those 7 techniques that I talked about, the constructs that I said, where you have your technology at your helm, which you can leverage. You have the creativity coming in, your business process changing, and project management has to take pace with that. Disruptive project management is there to stay, and I am sure that will go from one stage to another. I still want to ask these 2 gentlemen who raised in the beginning, you still think disruptive is bad? Okay. So, with that, I come to a conclusion. I think I'm still within the time. So, let me open up for questions. If you still, because many of this is not theory. Some of it are practiced in my organizations, some in my earlier organization, and some, yes, of course, they are all, food for thought. So, I won't say all are practiced, but yes, many are. And whatever I spoke is based on my experience so far. So with that, I'll stop here and take any questions. First slide. No, I think you can go ahead.
Very good talk and a new twist to project management. I have one very basic question. You talked about social media, but in most companies we have very strict ISMS policies, and the use of even mobile devices may be difficult, and you talk about using it for project management. I'm wondering how that will be possible and whether it will be accepted by the ISO 27001
no, I agree.
rigor, etc.
See the social media as a tool and technology to embrace it is of course within the constructs of your organization, right? So that's why as I said, many times when you box yourself, the customers may be actually ahead of you. I visited a customer 2 weeks back who is technologically and the process wise everything is so ahead and so innovative, and got recently bagged as one of the top 100 innovator in the US, asking for more innovation from us, right? And for them, they are already ahead. While as a company, you may still have your boundaries and say, okay, now I'm not going to go into social media. The clients may be wowed when you say, you know what, I put up a page on a social media which will talk about the progress and updates of the project to you, right? Now, I do agree. in some cases, the company itself may restrict you from usage, but I have known lot of companies who are promoting their internal social media framework. There are platforms built by the companies, and people are encouraged to use it from end to end, to put up your updates, to talk about what all the you open a webinar or a WebEx there, you do training there, your team members get trained in the social media. All that are happening today, and yes, some companies are still having that policy. That has to be within the boundary. I agree with you, but once the clients are ahead, it's important that we also stay with the pace. Is the reason I put that. And control. No, I'm not asking you to oppose stroke, right? So, as I said very quickly.
I didn't gather what disruptive project management is trying to do.
Okay. Sure, thanks. Scope creep, let's accept, is fundamental of project management. Any project will have scope creep. Whether we like it or not, whether we say, I will not take it in or not, right? A verbal thing. Still, there are a lot of customers who call and say, you know what, I need this to be done. I'll be surprised if any of you say no, including yourself. So, all I'm saying here is very simple. While that scope creep is bound to happen, I'm not disputing that. All I'm saying is, there are two concepts which I connected, one here, one with the last of the customer buy-in, right? So, what I'm saying here, that those scope, not all scope are good. Some of the scope creep, expansion into the scope, will actually be impacting the project. Say, for example, you make your team to slog the whole weekend, right? And Monday you need to deliver, you are still not able to deliver. On one side, you don't have team on Monday to start. But at the same time, you are committed to the customer that come Monday morning, I'm going to give, with the additional scope creep that you gave me, I'm going to deliver there. Reality is, both are not going to happen in cases, right? That's what I said, the scope creep, when it happens, use your customer as your coach, and let the customer give you the inputs. Let the customer figure out, when you say, you know what, by taking it, I'm not going to deliver on Monday, the customer also is with you, and you are not going to burn your team, burn the midnight oil. That's the essence of saying that you look at your intelligent way in which you look at saying, oh, this particular scope is not good for the project or the organization, and that's why, client, I want your help to figure out how this can be handled. And your coach from the customer side will be able to give you more valuable insight than what you may actually do. This is all I'm trying to connect.
Great. I have a question here. Here.
Okay.
So I think the question is around the social media framework, right? I think one of the challenges that I have faced as a delivery guy is how do you make the team use a collaborative tool? Be as a mesh or a collaborative tool where you kind of have a discussion forum and things like that. They don't go and then do it, and that's a big challenge. Any experience that you can kind of share?
Right. Okay. So the fundamental premise of social media is you should have a policy for social media. While I'm digressing from the topic, but since you asked this question, the parameter is you should have a policy at an org level to figure out what is the purpose of bringing in social media within your organization. I'm sure your CIO, CTO will do that, will define that structure. Once done, any tool, any new change will always be met, at least 50% will be opposing it. And social media is no exception to it. So as long as you bring in change management, make people embrace the change. Why and how the social media can add value to them, they will be there first, even before you. But many times today, there is a fear psychosis within the members. They think the updates that they do, the kind of inputs they provide in the social media, even within the company, will be viewed against them. So as long as that fear psychosis is not removed, you will find people taking one step back to do this. But I'm saying, that's why I said, instead of looking at organization, I'm saying, please look at your project. At the project level, bring in social connect. Let people start feeling the updates. And you say, fine, real time, wherever you are, you can give me an update. And I will take updates from the social media also, which can be your internal company thing or even external. I will use both. Maybe helpful in one of the ways.
The first one is extending that scope creep discussion. I slightly differ in the view. Since we have agile practices which are of shorter life cycles, agreed in the SDLC it was a more impact. So your views on that. Okay. And second query is like what I feel is open source project management tools. I think that is also one of the disruptive thing, because what is happening is when it is available, most of the people are little because of the licensing and all, people tend to shy away from using the project management tool, whereas the other tools of the Microsoft Office are widely used. So your views on that?
Okay. So let me first address the scope creep. He spoke, I think he proved that he is also from my fraternity, from the IT, right? So, but if you my view on scope creep is to go beyond IT, right? As I said in my own comment, that it's not just SDLC. There are agile, there are different methodologies coming through, right? Which probably helps in one way, but after you do your various stand-up meetings, your scrums are all over, you move it, there also what happens, you have your changes in which you have to control those changes, right? What you need to bucket it, you need to pick up which scrum cycle you will take it through. But there also, the clients plays a role, right? So there again, if you started somewhere through, clients may say, I will start with a 4-week cycle, and then they may change it and say, why not you deliver it in 2 weeks scrum? Those things do happen. So while you may take the requirement per se, I am telling even the expectation of when to look for, when to expect, and the client may not be ready. For the agile methodology, what you referred to, the client has to be equally ready, not just your team. Right? That's the funda of the agile. Now going to the second concept, second query of yours, as this gentleman said, open source is not